Coming up today, President Park Geun-hye expresses regret for causing public concern over the resignation of Prime Minister Lee Wan-koo over bribery allegations. She also pledges to stand firm against corruption. The United States and Japan announced new defense cooperation guidelines that will significantly boost Japan's military role in Northeast Asia, raising concerns of a return to Japanese militarism. Plus, rescue efforts in Nepal are continuing after a powerful earthquake killed more than 4,300 people. Many more remain missing. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Tuesday, the 28th of April. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thanks as always for joining us. I'm Mark Broome. Our top story this afternoon, President Park Geun-hye has expressed regret over the recent string of incidents surrounding Prime Minister Lee Wan-koo's resignation. Speaking on the president's behalf as she recovers from a mild illness, senior presidential press secretary Kim Song-woo said she approved Lee's resignation on Monday in order to minimize the administrative vacuum. Lee tendered his resignation last week as rival parties demanded that he step down. A suicide note from late businessman Song Wan-jong alleges that Lee and 7 other ruling party politicians had received kickbacks. President Park called for a stern investigation into the bribery scandal as a means to root out corruption and to achieve political reform. The president said she could accept special prosecutors based on agreements between rival camps if the current probe fails to reveal the truth. She also called for an in-depth inquiry into why the Liberal Roh Moo-hyun administration granted Song not 1, but 2 separate presidential pardons. And Korea's rival political parties are spending their final precious hours campaigning ahead of Wednesday's crunch by-elections. 4 National Assembly seats are up for grabs, but it's the sole available district in Seoul that's grabbing most of the attention. Ji Myung-gil has more.
The ruling Saenuri Party and the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy are devoting their last day of campaigning to 3 of the 4 constituencies up for grabs on Wednesday. Both parties started their final day in Incheon's Gwanghabi district, looking to win over voters with their plans for the area.
I will restart the project of building a bridge between Yeongjong and Gangwon Island and building a new city close to Incheon.
I plan to build an inter-Korean family reunion center and a joint industrial complex to boost the local economy and exchanges between South and North Korea.
This afternoon, senior members from the 2 parties will be on the streets of Seongnam in Gyeonggi-do Province and Seoul's Gwanak-bi district. Competition is especially fierce in Gwanak-bi, which has long been regarded as the opposition's home turf. The Liberal vote in the district could be split, possibly giving the ruling Conservative Party a backdoor chance. The MPAD's former senior advisor, Chung Dong-young, who has vowed to bring sweeping changes to the opposition bloc, is currently running against an MPAD candidate. Chung says he wants to create a new political force that can take on the ruling Saenuri Party, but his decision has angered many within his old party.
Both parties hope to secure at least 2 seats in Wednesday's by-elections as they mobilize their members to cover every last inch of the constituencies. The National Election Commission expects the results to start filtering through from 10 p.m. Korea time on Wednesday. Ji Myung-gil, Arirang News.
The United States and Japan have signed a new defense guideline which paves the way for Japan to take on a broader role in international peacekeeping missions and missile defense. It will also allow Tokyo to expand its right to collective self-defense. Na Hyung-kyung reports.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says the new agreement is a historic transition in the defense relationship between the U.S. and Japan. Speaking at a joint press conference in New York on Monday, Kerry also had a clear message for China.
Our treaty commitments to Japan's security remains ironclad and covers all territories under Japan's administration, including the Senkaku Islands.
The East China Sea Islands, known as Diaoyu in China, have been at the center of an ongoing diplomatic row between Beijing and Tokyo. Watchers say Monday's agreement will enhance U.S.-Japan cooperation in dealing with territorial disputes in the region. This marks the first time in 18 years that the two allies have updated their defense agreement. The previous guideline laid out 3 broad areas for defense cooperation, but the new one expands that to 5, allowing Japan to exercise its right to collective self-defense and help third countries under attack. Washington and Tokyo stressed that this will better deter North Korea's ballistic missile threats surrounding the Korean peninsula, but some, especially China, have raised concerns that the new pact will threaten regional stability. The South Korean government, on an official level, welcomed the move on Tuesday, but some skeptics argue the new agreement actually works against Seoul-Washington alliance. They say that if Korea and Japan were to hypothetically engage in a military conflict over Korea's easternmost Dokdo Island, the U.S. would have to support Japan under the new guideline. 나현경, Arirang News.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe passed up the chance to help heal the wounds of Japan's wartime past on Monday, choosing to offer no clear apology for his country's sexual enslavement of tens of thousands of Korean and Asian women during World War II. Kim Hyun-bin reports.
Given his track record on the issue, it didn't come as a major surprise that Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe maintained his vague stance on history during a lecture at Harvard University on Monday. Addressing the audience, Abe said he had feelings of remorse for the victims of wartime sexual slavery, but worded it in a way that didn't identify Japan as the perpetrator.
With regard to the comfort women issue, my heart aches when I think about the people who were victimized by human trafficking and who were subject to immeasurable pain and suffering beyond description. On this score, my feeling is no different from my predecessor prime ministers.
Watchers say Abe's remarks was carefully calculated so as not to deviate from his administration's existing position of not directly acknowledging Japan's responsibility for its wartime atrocities. Outside the auditorium, dozens of students and other protesters, including Lee Yong-soo, one of the surviving sexual slavery victims, held a rally, urging Abe to apologize for Japan's past wrongdoings. Historians say tens of thousands of women from Korea and other Asian countries were taken by the Japanese military to serve troops before and during World War II. Japan's lack of genuine apology for its treatment of the women has seen relations between Seoul and Tokyo hit fresh lows in recent years. Abe will become the first Japanese leader to give a speech to a joint session of U.S. Congress on Wednesday. But many critics say it was a mistake bestowing Abe the honor because of his distorted views on Japan's wartime atrocities. To many observers, the Japanese Prime Minister's lack of remorse for wartime sexual slavery during his speech on Monday is a clear indication Abe will offer no clear or genuine apology for a country's past wrongdoings during his highly anticipated speech to U.S. Congress. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Aid efforts have been ramped up in Nepal as the country tries its best to recover from last weekend's devastating earthquake. But thousands have spent yet another night in the open as the confirmed death toll soars past 4,300 now. The country's Interior Ministry says around 7,000 people had been injured in Saturday's 7.8 magnitude quake, and an unknown number of people remain missing. As well as the fears caused by regular and powerful aftershocks, people camping in the open are suffering from a combination of rain, hunger and thirst. And making matters even worse, potentially thousands of families remain cut off from help as rescue teams battle to reach devastated areas outside of the major urban areas. To help efforts, 90% of Nepal's army has been mobilized, with a military official saying they are operating on a war footing. There have also been attempts to fix phone lines and restore much-needed power. The government there in Nepal says it's also focusing on rescuing the foreigners trapped around the country, including people on climbing expeditions. And the Korean government dispatched a search and rescue team to quake-hit Nepal on Monday. Korea plans to send another group at the end of the week, joining a growing number of countries and aid agencies pledging relief for the devastated country. Our Shin Se-min reports.
The survivors are exhausted after sleeping outdoors in the tent cities that have sprung up around the capital of Kathmandu. Most of them have either been displaced or are afraid their homes will collapse as strong aftershocks from the quake that struck Saturday continue to rock the nation of nearly 28 million. The people are in desperate need of shelter, food, clean drinking water, and electricity, and medical supplies are running low. The Korean government stepped up its response to the crisis on Monday by dispatching a team of rescue workers. An advance team of 15 left for Nepal Monday evening, while a second group of 30 is scheduled to depart Friday. This in addition to the $1 million in aid Korea has already pledged. Help is coming from around the globe. UN spokeswoman Orla Fagan left for Nepal Sunday to help combat possible outbreaks of disease like measles. Canada, France, Pakistan, and the United Arab Emirates have also pledged aid. Britain said it is delivering supplies and a rescue team, while Pakistan is sending military aircraft loaded with medical supplies, a necessity for a country where hospitals are being overwhelmed. The U.S. also sent a military plane loaded with supplies and disaster response personnel. But getting to Nepal at this point is also proving to be a challenge. There's just one international airport that's been shut down frequently due to the aftershocks. Meanwhile, many remote regions, most of them impoverished, are left to fend for themselves as landslides and aftershocks hamper rescue efforts. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Apple sold more than 61 million iPhones over the last 3 months, pushing the company to yet another record quarterly profit. Apple's latest earnings report shows its best year-on-year performance to date, with $58 billion in revenue and $13 billion profit. The company's smartphone sales jumped a staggering 40% during its second fiscal quarter, which ended on Tuesday, and iPhone sales accounted for nearly 70% of Apple's total revenue. Consumers in China led the demand for Apple products globally. Overall revenues from that region, which includes Hong Kong and Taiwan, surged 72%, making it Apple's second biggest market after the United States. Korean exports have been down lately, but a new survey suggests it's not all doom and gloom. The Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry canvassed some 500 exporting firms and found the market outlook is improving for smaller, compact products such as home appliances and foodstuffs. But heavy industries like the steel and shipbuilding sectors will continue their downward slide, according to this survey at least. Low global crude prices in the first quarter caused a significant dip in petrochemical and petroleum product exports. Now, smoking inside restaurants and cafes is no longer allowed anymore here in Korea. Those who do want to light up have to make their way outside into certain designated booths, but most of these spaces aren't equipped with adequate ventilation systems. Well, now Korean researchers have developed a way to make these smoking rooms less smoky. Our Park Se-young has the story.
At this cafe in Seoul, walking into the smoking room is like entering a toxic cloud. That's because the ventilation fan is not strong enough to clear the haze. But a group of Korean researchers has found a way to make the rooms less dangerous for die-hard smokers. Working with the Korea Tobacco and Ginseng Corporation, the scientists developed a filter that can quickly and effectively remove harmful substances from the air. For example, in a 26 square meter room of 12 smokers, the filter can sift out 80% of the toxins in just 30 minutes. Compare that to conventional purifiers. Under the same conditions, they can only eliminate 20 to 30%. The secret? ceramic filters coated with nanocatalysts. They're tiny particles that combine with the cancer-causing agents in the smoke, turning them into safe carbon dioxide and vapor.
The nanocatalyst can break down 80 to 90% of harmful gases, like acetaldehyde, which makes it more effective than the existing absorption method.
This nanocatalyst technology is also cost-effective. It can be applied to fiber filters, lowering expenses and raising the efficiency of air purifiers. The research team has applied for a patent and plans to commercialize the new technology within a year. Park Se-young, Arirang News.
Well, that's all we have for now. I'm Mark Broome. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and thank you, as always, for watching, and we hope to see you at the same time on Wednesday. Goodbye.